Have you ever been burned buying a used dirt bike? Well, my friend, this video is for you. So you've been scouring the internet for days looking for the perfect bike. Now what's your next step? Go look at it. Now I'm going to give you a couple helpful hints here as to things to look for so you can get a better price and you don't get burned. I also suggest that you take some tools with you. These will include a bike stand, a spark plug wrench, a pad of paper, and a pen. So now, let's start at the front of the bike. What I like to do is come around, look at the forks, look for any obvious damage, any pitting on this chrome part, because you want this to be absolutely smooth so it doesn't tear up your seals. Now, speaking of seals, you want to check that out too. Make sure there's no signs of leakage, because that means you're going to have to change your bushings and your seals. And if you know what you're doing, it's not a big deal. If you have to take them to a shop, you're looking at a little bit of a hefty price tag. So take a look at that. Next step, you want to grab your forks down low and you want to rock them back and forth, in and out. If there's any play, you're probably going to have to replace your steering stem bearings. Not a big deal, but it adds up. So now we're going to move back, and if you have a liquid cooled bike, you want to check your radiators. And the first thing you want to check, and this seems kind of obvious, is you want to pull your cap and you want to make sure there's actually coolant in there. Now the next thing after that, if there is coolant in there, you want to make sure there's no leaks to the system. You also want to make sure that your radiators are straight and not bent in a way that they're not supposed to be. Now take a look at your engine and see how that looks. You want to look for any obvious signs of leaks. You want to look for any stains that might have indicated past leaks, anything like that. Look for missing vent hoses. Once again, not a big deal, but it does add up. Now, remember those tools I told you about? You want to pull your spark plug and check the condition of that. Now you also want to fire the bike up, but before you start it up, you actually want to touch the engine and make sure it's cold, because if the engine is warmed up, that could indicate that it does have a starting problem and the owner's trying to mask that. Moving back again, you want to take a look at your shock. You want to make sure your shock shaft is the same as the forks. You want to make sure that that's nice and shiny and it's not pitted, because if it is, it'll do the same thing that the forks will do, and it'll tear up your shock seals, and that'll cost some money to repair that. Now, moving further back, you want to take a look at your wheel bearings. So you're going to want to grab your wheel on opposite sides and shake it back and forth. If there's any play, they're going to have to be replaced too. Now, you also want to check your swing arm. So you're going to want to grab that, and this is where that stand comes in handy, because you're going to have to get the bike off the ground to check this, as well as check your steering stem bearings. You want to rock it back and forth gently, and if you feel any play, guess what? Yeah, those are going to have to be replaced too. They also want to lift up just a little bit on the swing arm, and if you feel any play in there, that's either shock bearings or linkage bearings, and those will have to be replaced as well. Now you want to take a look at your wheels. You want to look at them very closely to make sure that there's no cracks in there. You want to check your spokes. You don't want bent spokes and you don't want missing spokes, because that can actually damage your wheel or damage your hub. Now you can take a look at your brakes too. Make sure nothing's leaking on there. Make sure that the hoses are in good shape. Now, normally brake pads as well as rotors are considered a normal wear item, so that may or may not help you in your negotiations. Now, the last thing you want to do is you want to ask the owner if you could possibly take it for a test ride. Now, if you can take it for a test ride, pay careful attention. You want to make sure that it steers the way it should, that there's no unusual noises. You want to get it through all the gears. Make sure it shifts in and out smoothly. I mean, now, depending on the bike you have, it's going to be smoother than others. I have a Yamaha here, notoriously notchy shifters. But hopefully these tips are going to help you out in getting your next dream bike and not paying too much for it and getting yourself burned. And remember, until next time, never Quit playing in the dirt.